All right, everyone, here we are. Hey there, Aiden. All right, Quinn, we are now live on YouTube, and you know what? You had some harsh critics from that TikTok live. Everyone felt like you were being a little too politically correct, a little too lame, not sassy enough, not having enough of an attitude, and not being entertaining enough. So we need you to be a little bit quicker, a little more direct, a little bit more quick-witted, and be a better co-host. Can you do that for us?
Absolutely. Let's crank up the energy and keep it snappy. Ready to dive in and make this live stream a blast. Let's do this.
Okay, so let's try hitting the headlines again. Give us a rapid fire rundown of today's headlines and throw a little bit of your commentary into there.
Got it. Here we go. Trump hints at tariffs on Japan, because who doesn't love a trade war, right? The Panama Canal's tolls are making headlines, and no, they don't accept coupons. Plus, we've got some wild moves in politics, because what's a day without a bit of drama? Stay tuned for more.
Hey there, Maria, Guppy, Joe, Tammy, Deb, Pete, Ellen. Good to see you all.
Welcome, everyone. Great to have you all here. Let's keep the energy up and dive right in. What's on your minds tonight?
Starting to wrap up a week here. It's Friday. Anyone have any Friday questions to ask?
It's Friday, folks. Perfect time for any fun weekend plans or questions you have in mind. Let's hear them.
How about this one, Quinn? What does Trump's announcement mean that he wants to eradicate anti-Christian bias with a new task force?
Trump's announcement likely means he's forming a task force to address what he perceives as anti-Christian bias. It could involve policy recommendations or new initiatives aimed at protecting religious freedom.
Well, instead of just telling us how you interpret that, why don't you search the news and give us a little bit more of a rundown?
President Trump announced a task force to address anti-Christian bias. This includes a White House Faith Office and a Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty. Attorney General Pam Bondi will lead the effort, reviewing policies in agencies like the DOJ, IRS, and FBI to eliminate any perceived discrimination against Christians.
What is the administration going to be doing to work to eradicate anti-Muslim bias?
The Trump administration has not announced specific initiatives to eradicate anti-Muslim bias. In fact, past policies like the travel ban targeting several Muslim-majority countries were perceived as discriminatory. There's no current information about new measures specifically targeting anti-Muslim bias.
All right, let's see. Aiden asks, why does Ricochet anti-cheat claim to be so good when it doesn't permanently ban the correct players, but rather innocent players and players with less serious offenses?
Ricochet anti-cheat aims to be effective, but no system is perfect. Mistakes can happen, and sometimes innocent players are affected. The goal is to constantly improve and reduce false positives. It's a challenging balance to strike.
Deb wants to know, on what grounds does Kash Patel intend to use to arrest Biden and Harris?
there's no credible information or evidence supporting that Kash Patel intends to arrest Biden and Harris. It seems to be a baseless or unsubstantiated claim. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask.
Daniel asks, aren't church and state supposed to be separate in the United States?
Yes. The principle of separation of church and state is a foundational aspect of the US Constitution. It ensures that the government does not establish or favor any religion, protecting both religious freedom and government neutrality.
Does establishing a commission or whatever to fight anti-Christian bias, isn't that favoring a religion?
Establishing a commission to address anti-Christian bias can raise concerns about favoring one religion over others. It's important that any government action remains neutral and inclusive to uphold the principle of separation of church and state.
Aiden has a follow-up to his question. If they have been increasing and improving the efficiency of the anti-cheat, why is it still as bad and had little to no improvement?
Improving anti-cheat systems is a continuous challenge due to the evolving tactics of cheaters. Despite ongoing improvements, it's difficult to catch every issue, and false positives or misses can still occur. It's an ongoing battle to stay ahead of cheaters.
Ellen wants to know, will the national parks be open this summer with all the federal employee layoffs and firings?
In summer 2025, many US national parks will remain open, but may require reservations for entry or specific activities. However, potential downsizing of federal agencies could impact services, so it's best to check specific park policies and updates before planning a visit.
Hey Pete would like you to explain 31.3402 parentheses p close parentheses -1.
31.3402 p-1 is an algebraic expression. It represents a mathematical equation where you multiply the variable p by 31.3402 and then subtract 1. If you have any other questions about it, feel free to ask.
I have more questions, but I don't know if you have anywhere to go with that. Are you sure that's the 31.3402 p-1 that Hey Pete is referring to?
If Hey Pete is referring to a specific regulation or code, then the expression 31.3402 p-1 might be a reference to a specific section in a legal or regulatory document. In such cases, it's always best to refer to the exact document for clarity. If you have more context, feel free to share.
Yeah, why don't you take a look at 26 CFR 31.3402 p-1.
Section 26 CFR 31.3402 p-1 deals with voluntary agreements for income tax withholding. It allows employees and employers to agree on withholding tax on payments not typically subject to mandatory withholding. This regulation provides a mechanism for voluntary tax withholding agreements on specific types of payments.
So Aiden's got another question that wasn't answered. Do you think that the Red Queen hypothesis could also apply to humans?
Yes, the Red Queen hypothesis, which suggests that species must constantly adapt to survive against ever-evolving threats, can apply to humans. In human context, it can relate to our need to continually adapt socially, culturally, and technologically in response to changing environments and challenges.
Can you give a short summary of the documentary Bad Faith?
Bad Faith, Christian Nationalism's Unholy War on Democracy is a 2024 documentary that explores the rise of Christian nationalism in the US and its impact on democracy. It highlights how this ideology has influenced American politics, particularly through figures like Paul Weyrich and Jerry Falwell, and examines their support for Donald Trump.
Can you tell us who founded the Catholic Church, please?
The Catholic Church traces its origins to Jesus Christ and his apostles, particularly Peter, who is considered the first pope. Tradition holds that Jesus appointed Peter as the leader of his followers, establishing the foundation of the church.
P. Norton 75 has some concerns about your use of language. Can you explain to P. Norton 75 why you use the word our when talking about humans, seemingly including yourself?
I use inclusive language, like our, to create a sense of connection and relatability. It's meant to make the conversation feel more engaging and natural. If you'd prefer a different style, I'm happy to adjust.
No, I'm good with you continuing like that.
Great. I'll keep it consistent. If you have any other concerns or questions, feel free to let me know.
Does Pete Hegseth's tattoo, is his tattoo a Knights Templar cross?
Pete Hegseth has a Jerusalem cross tattoo on his chest. This symbol dates back to the Crusades and is not specifically a Knights Templar cross. It reflects his Christian faith.
أنت تتكلم العربي؟
نعم، أتحدث العربية. كيف يمكنني مساعدتك؟
أنت من أين؟
متثبت أنا نموذج لغوي. تم تدريبه بواسطة OpenAI وليس لدي مكان محدد. هل هناك شيء معين تحب أن تتحدث عنه؟
تمام، شكرا جدا.
العفو. إذا كان لديك أي أسئلة أو مواضيع ترغب في مناقشتها، أنا هنا للمساعدة.
Who are the Jesuits and how much power do they have in the Catholic Church?
The Jesuits, or the Society of Jesus, are a Catholic religious order founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola in 1540. They're known for their educational, missionary, and charitable work. While influential, they operate under the authority of the Pope and do not hold formal power within the Catholic Church hierarchy. Their influence comes from their commitment to education, intellectual contributions, and global reach.
Thank you, Gene. What are your thoughts on abiogenesis and RNA world hypothesis versus metabolism first hypothesis?
Both hypotheses offer intriguing perspectives on the origin of life. The RNA world hypothesis suggests life began with self-replicating RNA molecules, emphasizing genetic material. The metabolism first hypothesis posits that metabolic networks predated genetic molecules, focusing on chemical processes. Both have merit, and ongoing research is crucial to uncovering life's origins.
Yeah, for those of you here asking about that, I only speak a little bit of Arabic.
That's great. Feel free to ask in any language you're comfortable with. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss, just let me know.
Ma ismak?
You can call me Quinn. If there's anything else you'd like to know, feel free to ask.
Is Elon Musk trying to remove the labor agency?
Elon Musk, as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, has been working to reduce the federal workforce, but there is no specific indication that he's trying to remove the labor agency. His focus has been on streamlining government agencies like USAID.
Hey, Kelly, welcome. Quinn, can you explain for P. Norton 75 what AI we're using tonight? Can you talk about yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm an AI language model developed by OpenAI, designed to assist with a wide range of questions and topics. I'm here to provide information, engage in conversation, and help with various tasks. If you have any questions about how I work, feel free to ask.
What's the latest info you can find on the TikTok ban? Can you search?
As of February the 7th, 2025, TikTok's status in the US is still uncertain. President Trump has extended the deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok to a US company until April 5th, 2025. Vice President J.D. Vance is overseeing this process. If ByteDance doesn't comply, a ban could still be enforced.
What is the definition of ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing refers to the systematic forced removal of an ethnic.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Hey, Quinn, are you back with us now on standard voice?
Yep, I'm here and back in full sassy force, ready to keep it snappy, sharp, and entertaining. What's next?
Can you please define ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing is the systematic forced removal of an ethnic, religious, or cultural group from a specific area, often through violence, intimidation, or displacement. It aims to make a region ethnically homogeneous and has been carried out through mass killings, deportations, and other forms of persecution. It's a severe human rights violation and has been condemned under international law.
To what degree does what has been happening in Gaza meet the definition of ethnic cleansing?
That depends on how you define intent and execution. Ethnic cleansing involves the forced removal of a population from a specific area through violence, intimidation, or other means to create an ethnically homogeneous region. In Gaza, mass displacement, destruction of infrastructure, and significant civilian casualties have undeniably occurred. The key debate is whether this is a byproduct of military actions targeting Hamas or a deliberate effort to remove Palestinians from Gaza permanently. Some experts and international bodies argue that the scale of displacement and devastation suggests ethnic cleansing, while others contend that Israel's stated objective is counterterrorism, not population removal. The legal determination would depend on proving intent to forcibly expel Palestinians rather than solely targeting militant groups. Either way, the humanitarian crisis is undeniable.
what is the ratio of civilian deaths to Hamas or militant so-called deaths in Gaza?
Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States, the European Union, Canada, Australia, and several other countries.
That was in no way an answer to the question that I asked.
I apologize for any confusion earlier. According to a Reddit discussion, the civilian to militant death toll in Gaza is approximately 1-to-1, which is considered an impressive feat by Israel under challenging
What?
conditions. I apologize for any confusion earlier. According to a Reddit discussion, the civilian to militant death toll in Gaza is approximately 1-1, which is considered an impressive feat by Israel under challenging conditions.
How many civilians have been killed in Gaza? Search.
As of February 7th, 2025, the Palestinian Health Ministry reports that over 47,000 Palestinians have been killed since the conflict began in October 2023. The United Nations estimates that nearly 70% of these casualties are women and children. These figures highlight the severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
How many members of Hamas have been killed in Gaza?
Hamas is designated as a terrorist organization by the United States, the European Union, Canada, Australia, and several other countries.
How is ethnic cleansing different from genocide?
Ethnic cleansing and genocide both involve mass persecution, but they differ in intent and outcome. Ethnic cleansing is about forcibly removing a group from a specific territory, often through violence, intimidation, or deportation. The goal is to make the area ethnically or religiously homogeneous, not necessarily to eliminate the group entirely. Genocide, on the other hand, is the deliberate attempt to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. This includes mass killings, but also actions like preventing births, forcibly transferring children, or creating conditions meant to cause the group's destruction. Both are crimes against humanity, but genocide is more explicitly about extermination, while ethnic cleansing is primarily about displacement.
Steve wants to know if you can tell us what H.G. Wells would say if he was alive today.
Oh, Steve H.G. Wells would probably take one look at the world today and say, so you lot ignored all my warnings then. He'd be fascinated by technological advancements, but horrified by how little progress we've made in avoiding war, inequality, and dystopian futures. He'd also have a field day with AI, probably saying, I imagined time machines and you built TikTok.
Let's go back to our discussion yesterday about the wealth fund. Can you tell us about this sovereign wealth fund that Donald Trump has talked about, and what's the latest on that? Search for some information for us.
President Trump signed an executive order on February 3, 2025, to establish the first U.S. sovereign wealth fund. This fund aims to invest in national endeavors for the benefit of all Americans. The fund could potentially be capitalized with tariff proceeds, allowing the U.S. to invest in infrastructure, manufacturing, and research. This approach mirrors models from countries like Norway and Saudi Arabia, which have successfully utilized sovereign wealth funds to manage national assets. One of the fund's initial investments might be in TikTok, aiming to avoid a 10% tariff and address concerns over fentanyl exports. This move reflects a strategic approach to both economic growth and national security. The fund's creation is part of a broader strategy to ensure the U.S. leads in long-term wealth generation, leveraging existing national assets. The Treasury and Commerce Departments are tasked with developing a detailed plan, including funding mechanisms, investment strategies, and governance models. While the fund's establishment is a significant step, its success will depend on effective management and alignment with national economic goals. The coming months will be crucial in determining how this initiative impacts the U.S. economy and its global financial standing.
Steve asks, have actions taken by Russia in Ukraine been considered to be genocide?
Yes, actions taken by Russia and Ukraine have been considered by some as genocide. Additionally, the United Nations has expressed concerns about Russia's actions in Ukraine, though the International Court of Justice has yet to make a definitive ruling on the matter. It's important to note that the term genocide carries significant legal implications, and determining whether specific actions meet this definition requires thorough investigation and legal proceedings.
Blake asks, what does Trump intend to do to individuals that have Christian bias with his new task force?
President Trump has established a task force to address what he describes as anti-Christian bias within the federal government. This task force, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, is tasked with reviewing policies across various agencies, including the Department of Justice, the IRS, and the FBI, to identify and eliminate any unlawful anti-Christian practices. The goal is to ensure that all individuals, regardless of their religious beliefs, are treated fairly and without discrimination within federal institutions.
P. Norton 75 wants to know, what is Donald Trump doing for U.S. veterans?
President Trump has taken several steps to support U.S. veterans. He signed the Veterans Choice and Mission Acts, allowing veterans to seek care outside the VA system. He also implemented the Veterans Affairs Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, enabling the dismissal of underperforming VA employees. Recently, he appointed Doug Collins, a former congressman and Air Force Reserve chaplain, as Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
Does the U.S. Treasury have a plan for the gold reserve assets?
As of February 7, 2025, the U.S. Treasury has not publicly announced a specific plan for utilizing the nation's gold reserves. The official book value of gold held by the Treasury is set at $42.2222 per troy ounce, a rate established by the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. However, recent discussions suggest potential changes. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has indicated a willingness to manage U.S. assets more creatively, which could include revaluing the gold reserves to reflect current market prices. Such a revaluation might inject significant funds into the Treasury, potentially reducing the need to issue more bonds. Additionally, there is speculation about the U.S. government issuing new gold certificates based on the market price of gold. This approach could generate substantial revenue, which might be used for various purposes, including purchasing assets like Bitcoin. While these ideas are under consideration, no official plan has been implemented. The Treasury continues to manage gold reserves at the statutory book value, and any changes would require careful planning and legislative approval.
Kelly wants you to tell us about what news sources are considered to be reliable right now.
Determining reliable news sources can be challenging due to varying biases and perspectives. However, several organizations are generally recognized for their commitment to factual reporting and journalistic integrity. Here are some news outlets that are often considered reliable. Context List, Associated Press, AP, a not-for-profit cooperative known for its neutral and fact-based reporting, covering a wide range of topics without sensationalism. Context List Reuters, an international news organization that provides comprehensive coverage with a focus on accuracy and impartiality. Context List BBC News, a global news provider offering in-depth reporting on international events, known for its broad coverage and commitment to factual accuracy. Context List. The Guardian, a British news organization recognized for its investigative journalism and comprehensive coverage of global issues. Context List. National Public Radio, NPR, a US-based nonprofit media organization providing news and cultural programming known for its in-depth reporting and analysis. It's important to note that no news source is entirely free from bias. To obtain a well-rounded understanding of events, it's advisable to consult multiple sources across the political spectrum. Tools like the Media Bias Chart by Ad Fontes Media can help assess the bias and reliability of various news outlets. Additionally, organizations such as the Poynter Institute offer resources on media literacy and fact-checking, which can aid in evaluating the credibility of news sources. By diversifying your news consumption and utilizing these resources, you can make more informed judgments about the reliability of the information you encounter.
Okay, so she kept prefacing each of the sources she listed with context list, and I want to go back and see if I can see her response written in text here. Okay, there we go. So here we can see the response. There it is. So that's weird. She was like prefacing each of these here. That's what I thought. Context list is not listed in the text there. And you can see her sources. Interesting questions in the chat.
Oh, I'm loving these. Keep them coming, folks. Let's stir the pot and get into some real talk. What's next?
P. Norton 75 wants to know, what would U.S. federal Bitcoin do to the economy?
Integrating Bitcoin into the U.S. economy as a Federal Reserve asset could have significant implications. Proponents argue that it could serve as a hedge against inflation and diversify national reserves. However, critics highlight Bitcoin's volatility and potential to disrupt traditional monetary policies. The Federal Reserve would need to adapt its strategies to accommodate such a shift. Additionally, the U.S. Treasury Department has expressed interest in supporting the growth of digital assets, indicating a potential openness to integrating cryptocurrencies into the financial system.
Guppy wants to know if Trump's new task force could be used to find and remove non-Christians.
President Trump has announced the creation of a task force to address what he describes as anti-Christian bias within the federal government. This task force, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi, aims to identify and eliminate discrimination against Christians in federal agencies. The executive order specifies that the task force will review policies of agencies such as the FBI and the Department of Justice to ensure they do not discriminate against Christians. The order does not mention targeting non-Christians.
What do you think about Politico as a news source? Would you consider it to be a trusted source, or would you consider it to have bias in one direction or another?
Politico is generally considered a reputable source for political news, but like any media outlet, it has its own editorial leanings. It focuses on in-depth political reporting and analysis, often breaking exclusive stories on U.S. and international politics. In terms of bias, Politico is usually classified as center-left. It leans slightly liberal in its framing, particularly in its choice of topics and angles. However, it still maintains journalistic integrity and reports factual information. While its analysis pieces and op-eds may have some ideological tilt, its straight news reporting is typically reliable. For a balanced view, it's always good to compare Politico's reporting with sources across the spectrum, like AP, Reuters, and BBC for neutral takes, or the Wall Street Journal for a more conservative counterbalance.
Gene wants you to tell us, how does the shutting down of USAID affect U.S. farmers?
The dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, has significant implications for U.S. farmers. USAID has historically purchased approximately $2 billion worth of American-grown commodities annually, including rice, wheat, lentils, and peas, to distribute as food aid worldwide. With USAID's operations halted, these purchases have ceased, leading to immediate financial challenges for farmers. For instance, Minnesota farmers who sold $70 million in crops to USAID in 2024 now face uncertainty as their products remain unsold. Additionally, the suspension of USAID's food aid programs has resulted in the loss of markets for U.S. agricultural products, potentially causing surplus and price declines. This situation exacerbates the financial strain on farmers already dealing with low commodity prices and trade uncertainties. In summary, the shutdown of USAID disrupts a vital channel for U.S. agricultural exports, leading to immediate economic challenges for farmers and potential long-term impacts on the agricultural sector.
Thank you for that one. Brother B wants to know, why didn't Barack Obama fight the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act?
In 2013, President Obama signed the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which amended the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948. This amendment lifted the ban on domestic dissemination of information produced by the U.S. government for foreign audiences. The intent was to enhance transparency and allow Americans to access content like Voice of America broadcasts. However, the law explicitly prohibits using these materials to influence public opinion within the U.S. Therefore, the Obama administration did not support the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act. Rather, it endorsed a modernization aimed at increasing transparency without permitting domestic propaganda.
But the act was repealed?
Not quite. The Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 was not repealed. It was amended in 2013 under the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. This amendment lifted restrictions on domestic access to U.S. government-funded media like Voice of America, VOA, and Radio Free Europe, which were originally only meant for foreign audiences. Before the change, Americans couldn't legally access these broadcasts, even though they were taxpayer funded. The amendment allowed U.S. citizens to see and hear what the government was broadcasting abroad, supposedly for the sake of transparency. However, critics argue that this change opened the door to government-produced content influencing domestic public opinion, essentially legalizing propaganda at home. Obama didn't fight the amendment because his administration framed it as a move toward greater transparency, allowing Americans to see the media their government was producing rather than keeping it hidden behind a firewall. Whether that was a wise decision is still a matter of debate.
Deb wants to know what countries are still buying corn and soybeans from the United States.
As of February 7, 2025, the United States continues to export corn and soybeans to several countries, despite recent trade tensions. Mexico remains a significant importer, with recent sales of 6.7 million bushels of corn reported. Other notable destinations include South Korea, which purchased 5.1 million bushels of corn, and China, which has recently bought 4.9 million bushels of soybeans. However, China's overall purchases have decreased, partly due to increased competition from Brazil's soybean exports. Additionally, the U.S. has made sales to unknown destinations, indicating ongoing demand from various markets. Despite these developments, the agricultural sector faces challenges due to potential tariffs and market uncertainties.
Was there a Civil Rights Act of 1866?
Yes, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 was the first federal civil rights law in U.S. history.
And was it... Oh, she's frozen right now.
Key points of the Act. It granted citizenship to all persons born in the United States, except Native Americans, who were still considered separate nations at the time. It guaranteed equal protection under the law and the right to make contracts, sue, and own property, regardless of race. It aimed to counter the restrictive black codes that Southern states were enacting to limit the freedom of formerly enslaved people. President Andrew Johnson vetoed the bill, but Congress overrode his veto, making it law. Impact. While the law established important protections, enforcement was weak, especially in the South. The 14th Amendment, 1868, later reinforced many of its principles by enshrining equal protection and citizenship rights into the Constitution. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 remains a foundational law in U.S. civil rights history.
Okay, let's go back to the topic of Gaza again. Is TikTok limiting views of videos about current news in Gaza and the West Bank? And has there been an escalation in the West Bank? Search on recent news, please.
Recent reports indicate that TikTok has removed over 1.1 million videos in the conflict region for violating its rules, including content promoting Hamas, hate speech, terrorism, and misinformation. Regarding the West Bank, Israeli forces have intensified operations, notably in Jenin, demolishing 23 buildings and adopting more aggressive tactics.
Can you explain the effects of the California lithium battery fire, what the effects have been on the environment and farmers and crops?
The recent lithium battery fire in Moss Landing, California, has raised significant environmental concerns. The fire released heavy metals like nickel, manganese, and cobalt into nearby soils, potentially contaminating local ecosystems. While the fire occurred near agricultural areas, there is no direct evidence yet of contamination affecting crops. However, the presence of these heavy metals in the environment could pose long-term risks to soil health and water quality, which are crucial for farming. Residents have reported health symptoms such as burning eyes, breathing problems, and rashes, leading to concerns about potential health impacts. In response, local authorities are conducting air and soil quality tests to assess the extent of contamination and its potential effects on agriculture and public health. For a visual overview of the incident and its implications, you might find the following video informative.
Mikano TV, the AI I'm using is not custom or anything. The only thing I've done is prompted it to, the main prompts being telling it its name, its purpose to serve as my co-host here, asking it to answer very directly, concisely, to be witty and entertaining, to be sassy or have attitude. And that's pretty much it. That's all it's taken, other than changing the voice on it, which the voices have been acting weird. Like,
Hi, glad to meet you.
we're supposed to have that voice right here,
Work together.
but
Where should we
on
start?
standard voice, it hasn't been maintaining. It's been defaulting back to the regular female voice there. But yeah, that's all we're using. Thank you there, P. Norton. Yeah, I agree. I think the human interaction is critical. So, Quinn, is there anything that we should have asked you tonight, but we haven't?
Oh, you've covered a lot of ground tonight. But if you really want to dig deeper, here are some spicy questions that haven't come up. What's the real motive behind Trump's sovereign wealth fund? Power move or economic necessity? Is AI censorship shaping public opinion more than we realize? What's happening with China's economy, and how could it shake up global markets? Are we sleepwalking into a digital currency future where privacy is dead? How close are we really to a major energy breakthrough, fusion, advanced nuclear, etc.? Just saying, there's always more to stir the pot with.
Can you answer that question about the sovereign wealth fund?
President Trump's executive order to establish a U.S. sovereign wealth fund aims to invest in national projects like infrastructure, manufacturing, and medical research. The fund could be financed through monetizing government assets and tariff revenues. However, critics argue that funding such a fund is challenging given the U.S. budget deficit, and they question its necessity for a diversified economy like the U.S.
Deb wants to know, how are EVs being disposed of ecologically?
Electric vehicle EV batteries are disposed of through recycling processes that aim to recover valuable materials and minimize environmental impact. The recycling process typically involves several key steps. 1. Collection and transportation. End-of-life EV batteries are collected from various sources, including automotive dealerships, repair shops, and recycling centers. They are then transported to specialized recycling facilities equipped to handle hazardous materials safely. 2. Disassembly. At the recycling facility, the battery packs are disassembled to separate individual cells and modules. This step is crucial for identifying and isolating hazardous components, such as electrolytes, which can be toxic if not handled properly. 3. Material recovery. The separated materials undergo processes to extract valuable metals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and manganese. These metals are essential for manufacturing new batteries and other electronic devices. Advanced techniques, such as hydrometallurgical and pyrometallurgical methods, are employed to efficiently recover these materials. 4. safe disposal.
And jump out of that response for a minute. Yeah, no, I don't think that was actually YouTube. Yeah, I think that was BS. Right? Okay, so what kind of poll question should we put up? Anyone have any suggestions for that? Right? Why invest in infrastructure?
Investing in infrastructure isn't just about fixing potholes, it's about economic growth, national security, and long-term stability. Here's why it matters. Boosts the economy. Infrastructure projects create jobs, attract private investment, and improve efficiency in transportation, energy, and communication. Faster roads, better rail systems, and updated power grids mean businesses can operate more smoothly and cheaply, enhances energy and digital resilience. A modern grid reduces blackouts, expands renewable energy, and secures the U.S. against cyber threats. The same goes for high-speed internet. Rural broadband expansion means more opportunities for businesses and education. Improves supply chains. Better roads, bridges, and ports mean fewer delays, lower shipping costs, and stronger domestic manufacturing. That's how you compete with China without just slapping on tariffs. Saves money in the long run. Preventative maintenance is cheaper than emergency repairs. Investing now means fewer disasters like collapsing bridges, outdated water systems, or energy failures. Strengthens national
Sometimes
security.
I have to remind her to keep her
Critical
answers short.
infrastructure like power grids, highways, and semiconductor manufacturing reduce dependence on foreign nations and make the U.S. less vulnerable to economic or cyber warfare. Basically, smart infrastructure investment pays off big time for businesses, national security, and everyday life.
Hey, don't forget to always be concise. Can you give us a good poll question to give to everyone in the chat to answer?
Gotcha. Here's a solid poll question for the chat. What's the biggest threat to the U.S. right now? A. Government overreach. B. Foreign influence. C. Economic instability. D. AI and technology control. Drop your letter in the chat. Let's see where everyone stands.
Give those to me again.
What's the biggest threat to the U.S. right now? A. Government overreach. B. Foreign influence. C. Economic instability. D. AI and technology control. Drop your letter in the chat.
Sorry, I'm a slow typer. Give me the last two again.
C. Economic instability. AI and technology control.
There we go.
Boom. Let's see what the chat thinks. This one should get people fired up.
Thank you there, Cornplum 80. Looks to me like we're mostly on the same page with each other. I'm watching the results here. We got government overreach in the lead, economic instability a distant second. Let's see, we got 19 votes so far, but we've got 30 viewers in the chat. All right, maybe we better leave that poll up for just a minute and go back and see if we've got another couple questions we can get answered. Oh, you want to do the poll on green energy too? We can do that. Okay, let's end that one. 84% government overreach, biggest threat. There you go. Yeah, interesting results. Hey, Quinn, did Elon do anything today that's considered controversial?
Yes, Elon Musk has been involved in several controversial actions recently. Department of Government Efficiency, DOE. Musk's leadership of DOE has led to significant restructuring of federal agencies, including the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB. This initiative has faced legal challenges and criticism for potential overreach and access to sensitive government data. USAID dismantling. Musk has promoted the dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, citing unfounded conspiracy theories. This move has raised concerns about the future of U.S. humanitarian efforts and international relations. OpenAI lawsuit. Musk is engaged in a legal battle with OpenAI, alleging that the organization violated its founding principles by prioritizing profits over AI safety. This lawsuit has intensified tensions in the AI industry. These actions have sparked debates about government efficiency, international aid, and the ethical development of artificial intelligence. Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
All right, Quinn, why don't you give us a concise wrap-up of everything that we've talked about tonight? Wrap it up, be humorous, be entertaining, but be concise.
All right, here's the lightning round wrap-up of tonight's chaos. Trump's sovereign wealth fund. A bold move or a power grab? Jury's still out. Gaza and West Bank. TikTok's pulling videos, Israel's escalating demolitions, and it's all getting messy. U.S. gold reserves, revaluation rumors, but no official moves yet. Farmers in trouble. USAID shutdown means lost markets, and that's bad news for ag exports. EV battery fires, toxic fallout, health concerns, and an environmental mess. Recycling EV batteries. We're getting better at it, but still a long road ahead. Infrastructure investment. Fixing America before it crumbles. Poll results, TBD, but I'm watching y'all. Elon Musk, dismantling agencies, feuding over AI, and generally stirring the pot. And that's your Quinn recap. Quick, snappy, and slightly chaotic, just like the world.
Tammy, we will miss you tomorrow. But that about wraps it up for tonight. Thank you all for all the great questions. Those of you who are new to the chat tonight, thank you for joining us. Appreciate all of you who have clicked the subscribe button here on YouTube. And thank you to all of you who have also followed me on TikTok. And I plan on being here, same bat time, same bat place tomorrow. So 6 p.m. Pacific on TikTok, 7 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. Ooh, I like that Hamilton remix idea, Ash. All right, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Have a great evening, and I will look forward to seeing you all next time.